We are family. We are connected by blood and bone, mind and hearts, and sometimes bricks and mortar. Like the finest woven tapestries of old, and the spices blended and stirred into our family's secret recipes. Our lives are intentionally intertwined. And we are made, no, we are fashioned into a stronger community by those connections. Interlacing, intertwining, intermingling of our existence makes each of us whole. The interlacing of our lives makes us whole. Happiness and sorrow. This intertwining of our lives makes us whole. Blessings and burdens. This intermingling of our lives makes us whole. Lament and laughter. May we allow the magic and mystery, often named spirit, to keep us connected long after today's service has ended. Come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to join our voices in our opening hymn, We Would Be One, number 318 in your gray hymnal.
Please remain standing as Gina Rybick lights our chalice with these words of inspiration by Eric Walker Wickstrom. When we light our chalice, everyone focuses on the flame. Yet it is the paraffin of the candle, the cotton of the wick, the potassium chlorate and sulfur of the match, and the oxygen in the air around us that makes that flame possible. As leaders, we are not called to be a lone beacon on a hill. Rather, we are meant to work together so that we might together shine.
now time for our story for all ages. I invite all of you to gather around as we hear a special story called The Bundle of Sticks, and this is an Aesop fable. An aging father lay on his deathbed, thinking about the welfare of his family. His 3 sons could not see eye to eye. They quarreled day and night. What, he worried, would become of his family? He had tried speaking with them about the importance of forgiving and forgetting and living in peace, but they ignored his words and grew more bitter by the day. Finally, as his strength waned, the old man had an idea. He called his sons to his bedside, asking the eldest to bring a bundle of sticks. "Now, my sons," he said, "I want you to break this bundle in 2. The first son tried, and then the second, and finally the third. But no matter how hard they tried, they could not break the bundle of sticks. "Now, untie it," said the farmer. "Each of you take one and try to break it." The sticks broke easily in the hands of each of the 3 sons. "You are like these sticks, my sons," the father said. "If you stick together, no one and nothing will be able to harm you. But if you quarrel and divide yourselves, your enemy will destroy you." Thanks for listening. In the silence that follows the spoken prayer, you are invited to come forward and light a candle for any joys or concerns you hold in your hearts this morning. Spirit of love and life, we hold in loving embrace our beloved Andrea as this Tuesday she undergoes triple bypass surgery. We lift up a prayer of strength for those in anticipation for what lies ahead, for Andrea's strength on this road towards recovery. We offer a prayer for successful surgery, for good health and well-being in the days, weeks, and months ahead. May Andrea know healing. May she know the love surrounding her and the prayers embracing her. In this moment, we offer these, the prayers and meditations of our hearts. And in this moment, I ask that we join our voices in our prayer hymn, number 123 in the Gray Hymnal.
Spirit of love and life, source of all that is. As we hold our sorrows, so poignant and painful, as we grasp our joys, so glorious and free, may we know one another's suffering. May we know one another's elation, for we are, each of us, unified. We are, each of us, part of one glorious whole. May we realize our small, yet critical piece amidst all of creation. A minute, yet crucial piece of a unified mystery. Breathing and loving and caring together. Laughing and crying and dancing. Each of us but a blade of grass in an endless field. Each of us but a single note in a symphony. Each of us but a piece of a beautiful, eternal collective, a shared humanity, a universal kinship. So may we, in this moment, stop, pause, and breathe together, sharing common air, common oxygen, common dust. For we are all a part of all that ever was, a raindrop in the ocean, a star in the galaxy. And we are part of all that ever will be. A newborn baby, an early morning bird call, an afternoon rain. So may we hold this tenderly, compassionately, delicately, as a blessing, a gift, a sacred responsibility. For we are parts of an eternal, beautiful, loving expanse, an unknowable mystery, a profound and endless awe. May we, in each of our days, know community, know interdependence, know universal connectedness, know our own small part as but a compassionate, empathetic piece of all that is. May it be so, and amen. In this sacred time and space, I light 2 final candles. I light a candle for the joys and concerns of those beloveds joining us virtually. And I light a candle for all else that we hold in our hearts and in our minds this morning. If your heart is hurting, know that your community is here to help, as am I. Please reach out with any needs.
Hear the words of John Saxon. A religious community is like a river formed from the many streams of our lives that meet and merge and flow to the sea. As members and friends of this religious community, we share our time and energy, our creativity, imagination, and vision, our talents, skills, and gifts, and the streams of our individual lives to create a river that is both deep and broad. A river that is made of many streams, sustains life, and refreshes the land through which it flows. But the river of this community also depends on our shared financial support that makes real our shared values and vision. We will now receive an offering for the support of this religious community and its work in the world. You are invited to give generously and joyfully as you are willing and able. For those of you watching this service online, you may contribute to a virtual offering plate using the donate button on our website or by mailing a check to the new church office, and that address will be posted in the chat. I now invite the ushers forward to receive the offering. For all that you give and all that you do for our church and its wider concerns, we give thanks. Here are the words of Charles Taylor. Individualism names what many people consider to be the finest achievement of modern civilization. We live in a world where people have a right to choose for themselves their own pattern of life, to decide in conscience what convictions to espouse, to determine the shape of their lives in a whole host of ways that their ancestors couldn't control. The dark side of individualism is a centering on the self, which both flattens and narrows our lives, makes them poorer in meaning, and less concerned with others or society. Belonging by Rosemary Watola Tromer. And if it's true we are alone together, the way blades of grass are alone, but exist as a field. Sometimes I feel it, the green fuse that ignites us, the wild thrum that unites us, an inner hum that reminds us of our shared humanity. Just as 35 trillion red blood cells join in one body to become one blood, just as 136,000 notes make up one symphony. Alone as we are, our small voices weave into the one big conversation. Our actions are essential to the one infinite story of what it is to be alive. When we feel alone, we belong to the grand communion of those who sometimes feel alone. We are the dust that hopes, a rising of dust, a thrill of dust, the dust that dances in the light with all other dust, the dust that makes the world. I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn 313 in the Gray Hymnal, Oh, What a Piece of Work We Are.
I wonder how often we have been in a space filled with a multitude of bodies and yet felt utterly alone. Perhaps we step into a subway in New York City surrounded by commuters and tourists alike, and yet stare on the floor in isolation and indifference as others do the same. Or we walk down a city street so close to others, we have 4 different people within arm's reach. And yet so many of us remain focused on ourselves, our own destinations, apathetic to the journeys of those in our midst. I wonder how often we have focused on I instead of we. I need, I require, I demand. What if we juxtapose this to we? What do we want? What do we need? How can we heal and thrive as a sacred collective? With this understanding of I, we become siloed, not a part of a larger group, but trapped within our own selves, our own individual bodies and thoughts and desires. We, conversely, invites us into a beautiful web of life, web of creation. These are vignettes of the basics of individualism versus collectivism, what matters most in the philosophy and ideology of individualism. The individual. Community falls to the wayside. This harms us, each of us, when we slip into individualism. We are deprived of the beauty cultivated when love is pervasive in our web of life. That which is nurtured when we care for another unconditionally. We are harmed. So focused on self, we are unable to comprehend the world around us and all she has to offer. We are centered in self, and as such, become apathetic. And yet we can be healed. We can be healed if we open our eyes to the abundance of beauty around us, the awe of each human life, the compassion required to care for those in our midst. And so today, I want us to learn and grow from a reflection on this detrimental individualism so pervasive in our culture. What exactly is individualism? It is that focus on self versus the group, the overarching importance of I, not we. It is those attributes that can be and are healing from time to time, and it also serves to the detriment of society. We prioritize, I quote, uniqueness or individuality, personal goals, independence, self-reliance, self-sufficiency, and privacy. The theme, a pervasive focus on self, and indifference and apathy towards the other souls in our sacred web of life. It is us on that subway, that city street, each of us surrounded by others, yet utterly alone. Think of our story for all ages. A single stick breaks easily, a bundle of stick remains unbreakable and whole. What are we in individualism but a single unbreakable stick? Culture and worldviews and values do not simply happen, they are cultivated. Here, in the dominant culture in this country, we have the history of the self-made person, a Protestant ethic pervasive to this day. In this philosophy, we are thriving or suffering because of the work we have done or have not done as individuals to get there. There is tension. We become a dichotomy of deserving and undeserving. In this framework, extremely affluent people believe they deserve all they have, wealth, property, accolades. Those with less become undeserving. We, this country we call home, in all of its excess and wealth, does not adopt policies to care for the common good, providing any form of assistance, quote, rewards the undeserving. Which leads me to the question, who are those who are theoretically undeserving? Why are they deemed undeserving? It becomes the poor, the destitute, those born and raised in systemic injustice residing in the inner cities. These become undeserving. These marginalized become deprived of basic human necessities as individualism flourishes. The rich become richer. Why are the marginalized deemed undeserving? It is the self-made philosophy that dictates that the destitute are failures of their own creating, and this creates hell on earth. I want to highlight three pervasive cons of this individual. First, a decrease in unity. When we become an isolated collective of self-focused beings, we diminish the cohesiveness of the group. We are no longer integrated into one great whole. We emphasize difference, resulting in disharmony in the larger group. We focus on that which separates, not on that which unites. What would a land of harmony look like? Of unity? Where the well-being of the whole leads to sacred integration of all beings, where differences are celebrated and we learn from one another. The second, we lower our ability to offer empathy. Each being becomes increasingly self-focused, thus disregarding the plights of others and their myths, devaluing relationship with and sympathy for all beloved siblings in humanity. It becomes about I, all about the individual, further and further from a compassionate, healing, collective, holy we. We no longer try to assist and support one another. We no longer try to understand another's journey. There becomes a separation of self and other, and self wins. Instead, may we cultivate a culture of collective healing, of egalitarianism, where each soul is committed to assisting another. The third, a lessened sense of support. Individualism leads to a sense, a reality even, of isolation. We are not tended to by society as a whole. We rely mainly on self, perhaps immediate family. Often, we may lack a web of support so pervasive in other cultures. Think of the difference of a community tending to the care of a newborn, not simply the parents. Think of the difference in reverence and compassion for the elderly, not to be dismissive of their worth or their wisdom. Think of illness being tended to by a community of support, care, and empathy. We are often called to do as individuals what could otherwise be shared as a loving collective. We are currently held in a space filled with others, yet utterly alone. I return again to historical individualism, this one a narrative of racism and sexism. In many ways, individualism was the philosophy created to lift up the value of white men above all others, establishing and maintaining a social hierarchy. In our nation's mythology, those celebrated through the emphasis on individualism were white men. As such, the privilege were granted the authority and the freedom to lessen the value of women, to exploit indigenous peoples, to enslave Black Americans. White men were and are seen to have those traits prominent in this philosophy of the individual: rationality, self-reliance, and self-discipline. In contrast, the marginalized were deemed irrational, dependent, and undisciplined. This serves to justify exclusion and oppression and prevails to this day. Racism and sexism remain. Culture does not simply happen. It is intentionally created. Systemic injustice infiltrates our society in a plethora of ways. And there are achievements in this philosophy of individualism, yes, notes Charles Taylor. We choose our own pattern of life. We cultivate our own convictions. We determine the overall shapes of our lives. And yet, do the pros outweigh the cons? The dark side of individualism, Taylor notes, is centering on the self, which both flattens and narrows our lives, makes them poorer in meaning, and less concerned with others or society. Individualism flattens and narrows our lives. A richness is lost as we no longer focus on the collective beauty all around us. It narrows as we focus on our own ego, our own mind, forgetting that there is a whole world beyond our own wants, needs, and desires. It is that me, that I, instead of that us, that we. We have a chance to fully engage with the web of life, and yet we ultimately neglect it. We lack meaning in our lives by not fulfilling the basic human need to care for one another. It is again that story of the bundle of sticks. As individuals, we are easily broken, discarded, injured in mind and in spirit. As the collective, we form a strength and a conviction and a wholeness that allows for survival, vigor, care, and perseverance. Let us pause here and shift our attention. How can we conversely remember and highlight our interdependence? How can we eradicate this facade of self, of the individual, instead realizing and celebrating that which ties us together in a web of community, trust, care, compassion, and love? We know now the detriments of individualism. Let us highlight the joys when we discard this philosophy. Rosemary Watola Tromer writes, "Sometimes I feel it, our shared humanity. We are together," she notes, "the way blades of grass are alone, but exist as a field. The way blood cells join in one body to become one blood. The way an individual note becomes a symphony. Look at what seemingly small, inconsequential lone entities become when sharing and working together in harmony. They create and maintain beauty and life. Each one of us is an individual, yes. We are each akin to a blade of grass. And yet, just as with grass, we are an interconnected piece of something much greater. We are a piece of a collective humanity. Interdependence becomes nearly impossible to ignore. Blood cells are not indifferent to one another, nor symphony notes ever found in isolation. No field, no blood, no symphony could ever exist in the mindset of I. It is a crucial, sacred, undeniable we. These inanimate things we know. These inanimate things know. We need one another. So too may it be with each of us. I want to lift up another understanding of interdependence, this one offered by Thich Nhat Hanh. I offer a reading that indicated to me that we are interconnected in ways that are powerful and crucial, yet perhaps not easy to intuit. If you are a poet, Hanh writes, you will see clearly that there is a cloud floating in this sheet of paper. Without a cloud, there will be no rain. Without rain, trees cannot grow. And without trees, we cannot make paper. The cloud is essential for the paper to exist. If the cloud is not here, the sheet of paper cannot be here either. A cloud and a piece of paper inter-are, as he calls it. Would you ever intuit this interdependence of cloud and paper? Would you ever think rainfall and book inter-are? To me, this lifts up such a multitude of possibilities. How are we interconnected in ways that we may never intuit? What entirely unseen effects do apathy, indifference, and self-centeredness have on our collective humanity? What are we harming that we could never even intuit? Likewise, what does this heightened sense of community affect? What can thrive because we are an intentional, loving part of all that is? We can choose through indifference to destroy, or we can choose to help all of life flourish. All of these metaphors and allegories serve to highlight what I hope to be a fundamental takeaway from this time together. Individualism harms. Interconnectedness heals. I have not yet named what I hope to be so very apparent. We are interwoven, privileged and marginalized alike, healthy and ill, wealthy and poor, accepted and disdained, welcomed and untouchable. We are each a blade of grass in a field, a note in a symphony, part of our web of mutuality. When we practice indifference, poverty, violence, addiction, and apathy grow to the detriment of all of us. When we care, we engage in interdependence, we heal. We heal the body, mind, and soul. We heal individuals, we heal communities. The hungry are fed, the unhoused are housed, the addicted find sobriety as compassion and empathy grow, and the idea of interdependent well-being thrives. This is the calling of our faith. Beyond our faith, this is the calling of humanity, of our beautiful collective. We join together, we heal together. With intention, the world blooms. So may we rid ourselves of the handcuffs of individualism, that which binds us to our own detriment, to selfishness, apathy, and attachment. May we not diminish, but cultivate a sense of unity, empathy, and unconditional support, as together we are a symphony. We are inescapably, eternally, faithfully, and lovingly bound in a web of care and compassion. We are part of a beautiful, profound, sacred web of inescapable mutuality. May we care for it. May we love it. May we heal it. May we thrive. May it be so. And amen.
Amen.
Please rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn 1052, the oneness of everything found in your teal hymnal. Within and beyond these blessed walls, May the idea of a sacred collective unite us, each but a piece, but a part of a beautiful, expansive whole. Each of us holding within us and between us all that is needed to lift the facade of the individual, the lie of the self. Let us depart, held in independence, held in love. Go in peace, and amen.
Amen.